studio. I'm Anissa Crespo, and on this episode of She Swaps, I am talking to Tarkessa. So, welcome.
Hey, well, listen, I'm excited about this. The whole conversation. I'm just grinning.
Me too. I can't wait to hear. So, tell us all about who you are, your journey, what you do, who you help, and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Look, that's a loaded question. No. Um, who I be and what I do. So I am Dr. Tarkessa Colvin. Friends and family just call me Tarkessa. I am I live in Alabama currently. I was actually born here, but I was raised in Detroit. So you get the best of both worlds, a little north, a little south. Um, my husband and I actually met when we were 8 years old, although we did wait a little bit to get married.
Uh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we were in the fourth grade and he swears it was love at first sight. And I'm like, I actually don't remember you. No, so yeah, that was interesting. And it was very interesting to go from the South, to the North, two totally different cultures, and it's cold, and I did not like that. Um, after high school, I came back to the South, and I always had this dream of being a writer. 8 years old, eight's the number. 8 years old, I was writing. My very first thing that I ever wrote was an account of the night my biological mom passed away. And that was, the only outlet that I had was like, because I couldn't draw. So I had to write. And that started my love for writing. And so when I went to Detroit and I was, in school, fourth grade, all the things, learning subjects and predicates and all the things, I had a teacher who was like, "You really like writing?" And I was like, "I do." So she gave me this journal and a cute little pen because, it was okay. It was in the 80s, y'all. So it was the little pen with you click down the different colors.
Definitely had one of those.
I thought that pen was amazing. And so, but the thing that stuck with me, because I don't know where the pen is, was that she said, "Write your worlds." And so I'll never forget that. And so that's how I got here. My very first kind of business, if you will, was I was an author. And I did all of the things, pitching all of the people, and you know how it goes, and telling people why I wanted to write these amazing stories. And I actually got in touch with, some of the big editors, and they were like, "You're an amazing writer," and this, that. And I was like, "This is my moment. This is gonna happen." And then they were like, "But do you have any stories about vampires and werewolves?" And I was like, "No, because I'm an adult and I don't really hang out with them." Right. And so that kind of, I was like, "Well, what in the world?" And so one editor kind of took the wind out of my sails. She said, "You'll never be published if you don't learn to write to trend." And I didn't know what that meant. And essentially what that means is publishing houses want you to make it easy for them to promote you. And I'm like, so if I want to make it easy for you, I gotta write with, I'm like, that does not jive with me. I was like, I don't know anything about, vampires and werewolves. Like that's just not my thing. And so what happened was I actually got writer's block for 2 years, y'all. And I had a good friend. She was mean to me at the time, I felt like, but she was like, "Are you going to let these people write your story?" And I was like, "Why would you say the truth to me? That is so rude." No, but, she was right. And so what happened was I became my own crash test dummy. And so over the course of 6 years, I wrote 19 books. And I'm not going to promise you they were good. That wasn't the goal. That wasn't the goal. But what I wanted to do was learn the self-publishing process. I wanted to learn the ins and outs of how things worked, what didn't, and kind of the science behind that because I'm a nerd and I always have to incorporate Excel in everything I do. And so that was my kind of getting into business because what I found was there's a formula. There's a formula to producing a good, especially for nonfiction, a good, juicy, connectable book. And also on the back end, I ended up creating what is now called the $254,000 per book formula that I used to teach my clients. And all of this sounds amazing, right? And it's like you're living your best life, but I wasn't. I had built a business that was crushing me, mind, body, and spirit. I was always on, I was always plugged in. My family hated everything technology because it drew my attention away from them. And then my health started to decline. And I actually had a doctor that said, what do you do for a living? And I was so proud. I was like, I am an entrepreneur. And the doctor was like, can you stop? And I was like, what? Because my health was like, and so that was the end of 2019. I ended up closing that business. And as we know how 2020 went. Can you imagine? I was already in a stressful situation. If I was still operating that business when the world shut down essentially in 2020, I probably wouldn't be here. And so today, all of that to say, today, what I do is I help women who are business owners build business better and make sure they don't skip the business part and make sure that they, even if it's a passion, for them, the work that they do, to make sure that they have their business set up in a way that it not only takes care of the people they support, but it also takes care of them. And that's what I do.
Well, that's amazing. So, I mean, first of all, I'm from New Jersey and I live in Florida now. So I get that north-south thing. And I
Right?
don't mess with the cold either because anything below 70 and I'm freezing. So
Reason.
I get that part. And I love that you did not shy away from your authentic self. You were like, I'm not writing about vampires. I don't care how trendy it is, how many sales it's going to get me. I don't even know what that is. Like,
Right?
I love that. And the other thing is you wrote all these books and you're like, some of them might not be good, but you know what? You know what? I am a recovering perfectionist. And I have learned that done, not perfect is so much
Yes.
better, so much better.
Much better.
And I love what you're doing now because I see a lot of young people coming into the business world, and the problem is they're treating it like a hobby instead of a business, and it's paying them like a hobby,
Yeah,
and it doesn't work.
it does not.
So you are incredibly needed. I mean, your services are definitely needed. So I
Well,
love that, you said, okay, I am going to put my family and my health first and I will figure it out.
yeah, 100% because I mentioned earlier that my biological mom passed when I was 8 years old. I didn't want that for my kids. Of course, they were a little bit older than that, but I didn't want that. So that was really important to me. And, for selfish reasons, I kind of want to stick around, I want to see my kids graduate from college and, all of the things. And so I was like, oh, there were so many things that I had to learn. First and foremost, I had this motto, but I wasn't really sticking to it. And my motto was, I can't want it more than you. And I used to tell my clients that, but at the same time, I was taking on clients where I wanted it more than they did. And I would be like, it's my fight club. So, first rule of fight club with me is I can't want, but it was, especially when it came to writing books, everybody says they want to write a book, right? But not everybody wants to do what's necessary to write a book, right?
Same thing with being an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
It
And
sounds
so,
sexy.
oh, it sounds, doesn't it? It sounds like, what did I tell you? I told the doctor, I'm an entrepreneur. Life falling apart, body falling apart, all of the things. It looks great on social media, but behind the scenes, it's like Spanx and duct tape. It's bad, right?
It's true. It's so
And
true.
so, like all of those things, all of those lessons, though, really help me now because I am 100% team boundaries. I am not team no sleep. I got up about an hour and a half ago, right? Not that I'm not productive, but I'm going to take care of me. And there are some days when I have a laundry list of things that I'm going to do, and guess what? It gets replaced with me watching Hulu
There
because
you go.
I just need, and it's okay. So here's my disclaimer. I'm a Virgo. So if y'all know what that means, like I'm very analytical. I saw a post a while ago when AI really hit the scene. And it was like, I don't know why everybody's all excited about AI. Virgo's been around for a while. And I thought that was hilarious because
That's so funny.
it's valid. But
Mhm.
at the same time, like I'm at a stage, and I told my husband this yesterday because we were talking and we're really goofy. But anyway, so I was telling him, I said, I'm at a stage where I get to actually take care of me. I've been working hard my whole life, right? Like we just talked about a segment of what I've been doing kind of on the side. but I've been working since I was 20 years old, 18 years old actually, and working for other people. I've been going to school since I was 18, like, well, college, I'll say that because we know how school works. But
Yeah.
like I've been doing all of those things. Like I just finished my PhD, what, 4 months ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I'm like, there's nothing else to do. There's no PhD, the sequel. I'm finished. But I've been doing that and going and going and going my whole life. And so right now I have the beautiful blessing and opportunity to be able to take my time and really think about me in this process, which is hard. Oh, it sounds amazing, but it's super hard because mom guilt,
Oh, it's real.
wife guilt,
Oh.
puppy wrangler guilt, like it's crazy. Like the things for me, I'll try not to project on people, but for me, my grandmother always made it seem like I always had to be doing something. Otherwise, I wasn't productive. It doesn't matter that, I worked 8 hours. When you get home, there's no sitting down. That's lazy. And it's like uprooting those things. That's a whole other job, y'all.
Trying to retrain your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because again, remember, I want to be here.
right.
And so if I am stressing myself out internally, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is super relatable for me because I'm same kind of thing. Like I had a job since I was 12 years old, always working, anything. My mom was a single mom, so like if I wanted something, I would go out and I would provide for myself. And
Yeah.
I'm fine with that because that made me who I am today. I have a
Right.
strong work ethic. However, it got to the point where now I have 4-year-old twins, and
Oh, bless you.
yeah, yeah. This toddler stage is rough, but it's all love. It's all love. But no, I've been an entrepreneur for quite some time, probably about 8 years or so. But what I realized was I was really a hybridpreneur because I was still working my full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And sometime back, I don't know, a while ago, I was getting up, getting ready because I work from home, but I still get myself up and ready in the morning. I'm getting ready, and I was putting in like 18-hour days because doing it all.
Yeah.
And my daughter looked at me and she said, "Mommy, why don't you love us anymore?" And that I was just like, what?
Tears.
I was like, what? Does she really believe this? I'm like, what are you talking about, Aviana? And she was like, well, you just love to work. You don't love to play with me and Geo.
Wow.
And I realized like something has to change. So I had to give up something. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm either going to give up my business or I'm going to give up my job.
Yeah.
And that was hard. And I went back and forth for months,
Yeah.
a 6-figure job that I had been with for over 10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
it was hard, but my decision was clear.
Yeah.
So I gave it up. And, now if it's the middle of the day and they want to play, I can say, hey, let's play because I'm not
Yeah.
trading my time for money anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get that. And then when I moved to Florida, interestingly enough, I was actually diagnosed with melanoma. And that kind of thing, like thank God it's treatable and everything. I just have to keep on top of it. But that kind of thing puts your mortality into
Yep.
perspective and then what's really important.
Right.
And family is what's
Yeah.
important. Loving
100%.
yourself. Loving yourself is important. Self-care is not selfish,
No,
you
it's
know?
not. And, you really reminded me of something when I was going through, at the end of 2019. Um, I was sunsetting my business, and I want to say it was a tough decision. This is a business that I built on my back. I got this business to 6 figures in 8 months.
Ooh,
I was working my groove thing off, right? Like, but at the same time, again, remember what I said about those clients. I wanted it more than they did. Like, I had a whole team that was like on standby, ready. All I needed, I'm giving them deadlines. I'm doing everything by opening up their brains and, pulling out the words myself, and they still wouldn't show up for them. And then when I had my health scare, it was even more deflating because I was accelerating, projects or offsetting them to people that I trusted. And there were two clients in particular. Like, I was like, I have sacrificed so much for you. One lady was like, you're just selfish. You know, she was so nasty to me. And I was like, what the Smurf? Like, like, wow. And it just put so much in perspective for me. Like, I'm thinking that I'm doing this work, this service to you, and you appreciate it, and you really didn't, because you would have me to choose you over living and being with my family when you won't even choose you. Like, that was a tough time. And then, like, right in November, my dad ended up being in the hospital, which, after the fact, we think he had COVID, because that was right at the end of 2019. And they just kept saying, he had some type of respiratory infection. And it was like, why is he in the hospital? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but anyway, but like that time alone just helped me to really, again, think about the people I was allowing into my ecosystem. My time is valuable and it's precious to me. And to have people, say, I mean, this one lady sent me an email and she was like, I hope you never make another dime. And I was like, here's the thing, I didn't abandon you. I accelerated your project and had some very strict deadlines, and you wouldn't meet them. And then I gave the option of, here, someone that I am paying to finish your project is going to handle it for you. And I was like, people are mean and nasty on the internet sometimes.
Oh, yes, they are.
It was so many things. And I was just like, and to think, again, that digging into that internal guilt, like, I've been sacrificing my personal life for someone who would treat me like that. That I was like, I do need to step away because this is a lot. This is a lot.
Yeah. And that resonates with me as well because, when you're first getting started, like you want it more than they do. And you're out there and you're like reaching for it, like
Yeah.
grasping for it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was experiencing the same kind of thing. Like these people would be like, as a coach,
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you make a transformation into something better.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And they're, oh, I can't, can we reschedule this and that? And I'm like, all these excuses. And I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, this is not for me. This is
Right.
for you, but you get passionate about it and you
Yeah.
care. And then now it's like you have to apply to work with me because
Absolutely.
I don't want to work with everybody.
Absolutely.
I saw somebody in a mastermind the other day and she was like, well, it was something to do with like she wants to help people eat right that have diabetes. And she's like, well, how do I really make sure that they're eating right? You can't.
You
It's not
can't.
your job.
No. No.
That's on them. You can
No.
guide them and show them the right thing to do, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we make our own decisions.
And so something that you said reminds me, like, I tell my clients all the time, like, if you notice in my content and in my packages, I don't offer accountability. And the reason is because if you offer accountability, you're speaking to people who can't be accountable to themselves. And so it seems simple, but it's very powerful. If you can't hold you accountable, how am I going to hold you accountable? If you lie to you, what's going to keep you from lying to me?
Absolutely.
Right. And so that, like I said, just taking that step back and realizing kind of even the language and how I position things to work with me. I'm just like you have to apply to work with me. Now I have, because I'm real big on front end and back end offers and business structure and things like that. And that's how you actually build a profitable business in a healthy way. But I have front end memberships. One's an information only membership, and one is a coaching and consulting membership. Those are on the front end. On the back end, I have more like project management, um, done with you, done for you work. And so you have to apply. I am not, the term coaching gets such a bad name, right? And it's because of people who think you're going to be the easy button, like you're some magic wand that they're not going to have to put forth any effort. And I'm like, if that's a thing, I would have abs. Um, just,
Thank
just saying,
you.
right? It's like, but also when you think about it and people say, oh, coaching, they roll their eyes like it's not a thing. It's not that coaching isn't a thing, but you taking action has been a problem. If you've had 4 coaches and you haven't gotten the result that you want, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not the coaches.
Yeah,
because the one constant is you.
right.
And so I say that. I will say that, I used to. So lately, I've been posting, you're gonna love this. Lately, I've been posting, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to introduce y'all to Detroit me. Y'all are used to Southern Charm me. Detroit me just says it. And so some of my posts will be like, signed by Dr. T, Dr. Tarkessa, but some of them be like Detroit me.
Uh-huh. I love that.
And I'm like, Detroit me posted the other day, like, I just think it's funny that you want someone to show up and support you every day, but you don't show up and support you every day.
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. And I do. I love that because sometimes I have to be like, listen, don't make me bring the jersey out.
Right. 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 So it can be fun to be an entrepreneur, but there's a learning curve. You have to find your footing. You have to also, I mean, it's a process. We all do it where we have to figure out how much our voice matters in our business. Because especially when you come out of, corporate and working for people, you tend to think your coaches and people that you hire are your managers, and they're not. So that's like, I had to learn all of that. I had a sales coach and she was great, but for sales, right? She wasn't great on the other parts. And so like that's ultimately why I got my business to 6 figures in 8 months, but it was a business that was like upside down as far as the design and the structure of it, and that I was carrying it on my back. And that's nothing against her. That's just me having wisdom now and understanding that just because you make money in the business doesn't mean it's a viable business. Like I couldn't pass that off to my kids. I couldn't sell that business the way that it was designed because they're going to come in and audit and be like, "What in the world? What in the world's happening here?" So you do everything? Like there's
Yeah,
no automation.
yeah.
Interesting.
That's what people don't realize either about being like a solopreneur, right? It's
Hmm.
like if you take a sick day or you take a vacation, like your business doesn't run. So
Right.
you need to have ways you have to have systems in place to automate. If you want to scale, you got to have a team and you got to have
Right.
a team that you can trust. And those things are not easy.
Right. The
So
other part that wasn't easy for me, and I have to check myself on this all the time, is that, look, unpopular opinion, attraction marketing isn't for everybody. Just posting and waiting until they come upon you isn't for everybody. If you're someone who needs to rev up cash flow in your business, you're gonna have to do more than put out some posts.
yeah.
Look, sideways smile.
Sorry, not sorry.
Right? Because that's the truth. Can you imagine like when you put that concept into other, it shows you how that doesn't make sense if you have a real need. Like if you were injured or something like that, you wouldn't just sit still and hope someone would come upon you to help you. Right? You're going to do what? You're going to call somebody, text somebody, FaceTime, all the things, all of the options. You might have Siri, whatever.
No, and it's like, manifestation is such a buzzword now, and I'm a huge advocate for it,
Yeah.
but you have to take
There
action.
are principles that go with it.
Yes, you cannot be laying on the couch watching Netflix manifesting your life that you want.
Wait a minute. You're waiting on Amazon to bring you a client. That's not how any of this works.
Not at all.
That's so, so true. And, you know, I know that people have multiple faiths. I have studied them all. I am a student. And what I know, whether you're a Christian, whether you believe in universe, all of that, the principle is the principle. It's an operating principle in the world that if you don't do work, you don't get outcomes. That doesn't mean you have to work yourself to death. What that means is either you're working faith, you're working some type of principle. It's always, an one side and the other that brings balance. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, you're dead on. I wish I could lay on the couch and just manifest my life and be like, oh look, Amazon delivered me $1 million. That is crazy.
If that was the case, we'd all be entrepreneurs.
It just doesn't work that way.
No.
And don't even get me started on, I try to avoid rejection in business because I couldn't really handle rejection and, as a person, because rejection feels like it's about you all the time, but it may not be. And again, that's stuff that I learned just on the entrepreneurial journey. It will make you self-reflect if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
If you hustling and grinding, you don't have time. But if you're on this journey and you're doing it right and you're, taking the time to make sure you take care of you in the process, you'll learn so much.
Words to live by. It's so true. Tarkessa, so I could just sit here and chop it up with you all day long, but tell us, are you working on any projects?
I absolutely am. So one of the things that I just rolled out was I rolled out 3 different tiers of done with you work. One is called my social accelerator, and so I'm a nerd, so y'all get ready. It is where I do a marketing audit. That's a done for you piece of that. And I go through 2 to 3 platforms for you, and I tell you basically how much money you're leaving on the table with your current setup on that platform. And then the done with you part is, so after we know what you're not doing, we go ahead and plug those holes and we make sure that your content has conversion conversations, that it teaches a little bit, because some of us overteach on social media and all of that. So you go from maybe not being too sure in your marketing to being crystal clear and having a 6-month content plan. So that's one of the done with you packages that I'm rolling out. And of course, there's always my consistent money model done with you package. Doesn't that just sound great? Consistent money model.
It
Doesn't
does.
that make you happy?
I want to know more about it.
So that's where we get together, and I'm really big on figuring out what your business is telling you. You've been doing business. It's your silent partner. It's giving you data, outcome, and results every day that you can use to make a different or a better decision. And so what we do is we look at your offer, we look at your pricing. One of my go-to, if you ever want to find me, you can Google toxic pricing and I'll come up, because I have a toxic pricing calculator that will tell you quickly if your pricing is toxic and if it's actually costing you money to deliver some of your services. Imagine offering a service in excellence, but it puts you in the hole every time you do it. Some of us don't have to imagine it. It's our life. But that's where our consistent money model accelerator comes in, because we work together over 60 days to plug money leaks, to make sure your cash flow is improved, to streamline offers. Some of us have too much stuff in our offers, like everything from babysitting to mopping the kitchen in our offers, and it's not necessary to provide the transformation or the value necessary for whomever your audience is. Anywho, so over the course of 60 days, we really work to make sure that your business is working like a well-oiled machine, including systems that don't require you to push buttons, send emails, send all of the things, so that you can live while you're making a living. So those are 2 of my favorite done with you items out there right now. And that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on, streamlining and making sure that for the next couple of months, I have the right people in those programs.
I love that. That's amazing. So
Thank you.
I'll make sure that we have links provided so people can just click away. But what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is simply Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, Dr. Colvin. I'm usually on there, me and Detroit me. Hanging out. Yesterday, I couldn't wait to tell everybody that the way my family and I sing Wanted Dead or Alive is unmatched. So you get nuggets like that, as well as, of course, the regular content about business, but you'll get to learn a lot about me. You'll get to learn about my puppies. That's very important. And also my grandkitten. I didn't know that was a thing until my daughter came home from college, but I love him. Um, So yeah, find me on Facebook, Dr. Colvin, and I would love to connect with each and every one of you.
Awesome. That's amazing. Yes, I'm definitely a follower. I am gonna just, go creep your page right now. But if you could leave us with just one thing, what would it be?
If I could leave you with one thing, it would be you're enough. You're enough for whatever the situation is before you. You're always going to rise to the occasion. So whether that's figuring out the best way to rest or figuring out the rest of your plan for your business, you're enough.
Yes, you are. Dr. Tarkessa, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. I can't say how much I appreciate you having me.
Likewise.